we will go and switch to the other league that will have their championship starting today in the American Association. We had a very hard-fought, very well-contested, divisional round up into this past moment with our final four teams of Fargo, Kansas City, Cleburne, and Milwaukee. I believe last week at this time, we didn't quite know who was going to be in there. King County wasn't eliminated yet. I believe only Lincoln was actually eliminated. And there were some very close series here, but for the sake of brevity, we're going to kind of just look at the series that was and preview the series that will be this upcoming week here with a lot of intrigue in this one.
Oh yeah, a lot of intrigue certainly. I think in this series, I think the American Association Playoffs in general did not disappoint. The great series that we ended up getting between Fargo, Moorhead, and Kansas City did not disappoint either, and setting up a very interesting championship series. Absolutely.
Here, and just to quickly cover how each team got here, Cleburne and Fargo, Moorhead, they didn't really face much adversity in their winner-take-all game threes. Each side won 7-3. The situations to get there were a little bit different, but by and large, at the end, neither team really had to worry all too much. King County mounted a little bit of a charge in the ninth, but it fell flat. As far as Milwaukee's concerned, they had a little bit of a tougher path. They won 3-1, took some Brian Torres, tremendous fielding efforts, as well as a couple of really solid pitching performances for them to get the win, and also Miguel Gomez just going off and having himself a day. That said, coming into game one, we had Kansas City versus Fargo Moorhead in North Dakota at Newman Field, and it didn't quite go the way of the Red Hawks. I think that's safe to say. It's a 5-1 loss. It was a very close game for a while. It wound up being 2-1 Fargo going into the ninth. We were thinking, okay, they got a real good shot that they may pull it out, and then in the ninth, it was a 4-run ninth inning for the Monarchs. They managed to just kind of take advantage of a Joe Jones that came in relief, surrendered the home run that gave up the lead change there. And unfortunate turn of events, J.C. Esquera just balled out in a pinch hitting performance there. His only at bat was a 3-run home run that gave them the lead. So unfortunate there for Fargo Moorhead, but they would get their revenge. On the flip side, looking at Milwaukee and Cleburne, Milwaukee takes that one 5-2. Again, another game that was close, I suppose you could say. It was 2-0 Milwaukee until the 8th, where they wound up going up 5-0. Cleburne gets a couple runs back, one in the 8th, one in the 9th, but in the end, that 8th inning is what did them in. Again, another very solid performance from Gomez. He goes 3 for 4, 2 runs, 4 RBIs. I believe he had a home run in there as well. So he definitely, he had 2 home runs, my mistake. So Miguel Gomez, certainly the MVP right there. There's a little bit of a sticky situation in that 8th inning that between Smith, Huckabee, and Gray, they managed to get out of, and then Ben Holmes finished the job in the 9th. So a couple of very interesting performances on both ends. Good starting pitching by and large. It just, game one in both cases were very interesting. Set up a very interesting stage for game two on both counts.
Yeah, I think that in both cases you saw that how much the bullpen can really impact the game, and how much, I mean, honestly, when you look at that Kansas City Fargo Moorhead game, it's a gut punch certainly for Fargo Moorhead in that game. They had they were at home. They had a 2-1 lead going into the 9th inning, and just were not able to to shut the door. And of course, a team like Kansas City is never out of it. But I think that the bullpens, even really on both cases, weren't. I mean, Kansas City certainly pitched well. Fargo Moorhead did not at all. Good, but I mean, the starting pitching, I mean, both in that game was really good between Matt Hall and Kevin McGovern. Went exactly how you would think it would. But so that was a huge win for Kansas City. And on the other end of things, I think Milwaukee, even though Cleveland was red hot, Cleveland got the win in their first round series. Milwaukee, they are the more talented team. They're a team that's played a lot better of late, and they were able to through a collection of relievers. They used 5 relievers after Schugel started the game, but a big road win for them in Game 1, and the road teams in both cases taking Game 1.
Definitely, yeah, it was the case there, and it set up a very interesting stage for Game 2. And in the case of Fargo, like you mentioned, it was a gut punch to them, so they needed a big response, and they got it out of the gate to get the first run of the game. Kansas City answers back, goes up 3-1 in Game 2. Then Fargo answers back by tying it, getting a couple of runs in inning number 6. Inning 7, they trade 2-run innings. And then in the 8th, this is where Fargo starts to pull away. They get 1 run. In the 9th, they get 2 runs. And in the end, they win 8-5 in a 4-hour epic of a game to force a Game 3. Tyler Grauer was the starting pitcher for Fargo Moorhead. He goes 3 1/3, 4 hits, 3 runs. Only 1 was earned, but he walked 4. He struck out 4. And this is where the bullpen kind of came in. Feldman, Berlingmar, Stover, and DeBoard, they combined to go the rest of the way, a total of about 5 2/3 innings. They only allowed 2 runs combined. Both came from Berlingmar in his 2/3 of an inning. Everybody else allowed a grand total of 2 hits, a grand total of 2 walks, and struck out 5. So if you exclude that one reliever, the other 3 went out and did their job in spades. On the flip side, if you look at Kansas City, Nick Belzer goes 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs all earned, 4 walks, 4 hits. Bullpen-wise, Koch comes in. He gives up 2 runs. Neither were earned, though. And then the rest of the bullpen, Martinson did all right. Rhodes gives up 1 run on 1 hit. And Velez gives up 2 runs on 3 hits there. And then Rubio, he only pitched a third of an inning. And at that point, it looked like the damage was done. So overall, a fantastic response by the Fargo Moorhead Redhawks. The cards were down, they were against them, and they managed to answer the call and fight back in their series to even it up and force a Game 3, which would be on Thursday night.
It was this time. It was Kansas City's bullpen's turn to really struggle in this one. So I think that the Redhawk offense got hot. They were really able to crack this Kansas City bullpen. And they were able to respond. It really shows a lot. It speaks to a lot about Fargo Moorhead, that after losing a heartbreaker at home, that they were in an elimination game on the road against a great Monarchs team. They were still able to fight, come from behind, fight and claw and get the victory. I mean, that shows a lot about their team. And at the end of the day, how could a series between the Fargo Moorhead Redhawks and the Kansas City Monarchs in the playoffs not go 3 games? It just has to go 3 games. That's the rules. There's no way that was gonna turn into a sweep. But the Redhawks offense, they were off to a bit of a slow start, but they really picked it up late, and they were able to get a huge road win.
Absolutely. As I said, after that one, we were getting the series that we paid for certain. Each game had some late inning dramatics, and it was so worth it on that front. We go over to Cleburne and Milwaukee. In their speedy little 3-inning game, in what was an elimination game, Milwaukee struck first in the 2nd inning. They put up 1 run. They put up another run in the 8th. Cleburne would make it interesting in the 9th to get 1 run back, but unfortunately for the Railroaders, that would be as close as they got. Milkman shut the door, take the elimination game 2 runs to 1 run, and take the series 2-0. Ryan Zimmerman, with probably the most impressive performance of the postseason so far. In his 5 2/3 inning, he allows 1 walk and 2 hits, no runs, no earned runs, and he strikes out 12 batters, just bullying the Cleburne lineup there. Frank Bartow comes in to relieve him. 2 1/3 for him, 1 hit, 3 strikeouts for him. And Rodrigo Benoit, he comes in, he allows the 1 run, but he gets out of it. He strikes 1 out. allows 2 hits to end the day there. On the flip side, no shame to be had by Kevin Hilton or Austin Fairchild. And they go 7 1/3 for Hilton, 2 1/3 for Fairchild. 3 hits, 2 runs, both earned, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts for Hilton. Fairchild in his 2 1/3 of an inning allowed 2 hits and struck 1 out, but didn't allow any runs. So overall, fantastic performance by each pitching staff. But in the end of the day, it was just the Milkmen pulled it out. They pitched slightly better, and that's why they are playing for a championship later today.
Right, and I mean, what an unbelievable pitcher's duel this was between 2 great arms and Kevin Hilton and Ryan Zimmerman. And Ryan Zimmerman, I mean, just what else can you say? I mean, at the end of the day, Cleburne put 5 balls in play against him in 5 2/3 innings, which is, it's just obscene. It's crazy. And the Milwaukee, they turned to him, and it's interesting because he had a decent regular season, but not a great regular season, a 4.45 ERA in those 19 starts in the regular season. But I mean, he saved his best outing of the season for the right time, at home against Cleburne, and to put them away. And I mean, a great job by Frankie Bardo, especially out of the bullpen as well, getting a big 7 outs to turn it over to Benoit. Just a great day for the Milwaukee pitching staff, and their offense struggled, but at the end of the day, it was enough because of the performance of those 3 guys, and especially Ryan Zimmerman, who just honestly was unhittable.
It was, and that's the thing too. Zimmerman for the last few years, I don't mean any disrespect, but he's been painfully average to below average, really. He had a good season with, I believe it was St. Paul a few years back, but that was really it. He hadn't done too much else outside of that. And of course, you know, you like to see it still, but he wasn't really the guy you'd expect to turn to in a situation like this. And he answered the call, and it was truly impressive there. And at the end of the day, I think we were both shaky about the whole East Division. We said about all of them, none of them really are that great. And if you really want to go down to it, the championship series is in the West. It's Fargo and Kansas City again. These are your 2 best teams, and it's not even particularly close. But going now into this final, and obviously we still have to talk about the game 3 between Fargo and Kansas City, but going into what will be the championship game later today and for the duration of the week, I feel a lot better about Milwaukee's odds. They came out and they performed when they needed to. Now, do I think they're going to win the championship? Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. That said, I don't think it's as hopeless of a cause as I would have thought even 2 weeks ago. So a lot from Milwaukee this past, I guess, 2 series, really.
Yeah, I mean, they're getting red hot, and honestly, they played very well the second half of the season, a lot better than they did in the first half. Their talent is starting to show, because the talent was never the issue with Milwaukee. They have plenty of it. It's just a matter about putting it together and winning ball games, which for the most part they have kind of late in the season. I mean, I picked them to come out of this division before the playoffs started. I just thought they were the most talented team, and Chicago just continued to be painfully average to below average. But I mean, getting a heroic performance like that from Ryan Zimmerman shows the depth that this Milwaukee team could have. Don't think they'll be the favorite in the championship series, but they are certainly a formidable opponent, and I think we could say the best team out of this division and out of the East Division got here.
I definitely agree with that. And I think you were onto something too when you're saying they were a second half team, and I think that's a case for a non-insignificant amount of teams in the East Division, because all the playoff teams were at 500 or better. And you can look at Cleburne, an extremely good team in the second half. I mean, they went off on a crazy tear their last 30, winning 20 plus. So they're definitely a second half team. Milwaukee started to pick it up. King County definitely made a statement too. Really, outside of Chicago, every playoff team in the East was good in the second half. That's where they got their money's worth. And I think we may have focused on the record a little bit too much, and that kind of distracts us from the quality of team they were. I will agree in that I don't really think they're going to be a favorite against this next team, but that said, it does also help their cause a lot more. Because if you're hot, we saw in dozens of leagues over the last few years, being hot is just as good as being extremely talented, because at the end of the day, it's one series, and with baseball, one series can go any way. And in a 5-game series, that's holds just as true as a 3-game series.
Yeah, I totally agree, and we've talked about it at length about the Frontier League as well. That's exactly what Schaumburg has proven again, and a team that gets hot, they can take down anybody, throw the regular season records and other stuff like that out the window. So Milwaukee's definitely put themselves in a position to do that now in the championship series.
Absolutely. And let's get around to talking about the team they're going to be playing. Game 3, Fargo Moorhead versus Kansas City, of course, in Kansas City. It was scoreless through the first 2, but then Fargo strikes for 2 in the 3rd. They get 1 in the 5th and the 6th, and then in the 8th, Kansas City looks like they may have something. They may be coming back a little bit. They get a run, but that would be it. Fargo got some tremendous fielding plays. They got some lucky hits. They got exactly what they needed to take the game 4 runs to 1 run. Each side had 9 hits. Kansas City had 3 errors, which I suppose at the end of the day is what's going to do you in. Correa looked fantastic. He went 1 for 2 with a pair of walks, 2 RBIs, of course, and a run scored. Really, when you look across this whole lineup, everybody got a hit except for Drew Ward, who managed to get a walk, and the lone other guy is Alex Oland, who was the only guy to not reach base. So a fantastic performance all the way through that lineup. On the flip side, you look at Kansas City. They also had some guys getting hits, but it was really the upper half of that lineup. Kuzma, Almeida, Ascara, and Santa, they did not get any hits. Now, of course, Ascara was a pinch hitter, and he drew a walk as well as Santa did. And that was about it on that side. The upper half of the lineup, though, in Gillespie, Hernandez, Robeson, Grootjohn, Sweeney, Smith, they all were getting hits. They were getting on base, although in Grootjohn's case, he was 1 for 5, so not exactly killing the game. Same thing with Robeson, 1 for 4 in his case. But one lineup came to play. The other lineup was too top heavy and didn't really produce hits into runs. If you want to look at the starting performances, Peyton Wigington, he had probably the best start of his young career. 6 innings, a 6 hit, no run, 4 walk, 4 strikeout baseball in a clutch situation. Riley comes in, he pitches 2/3 of an inning, walks 3 guys, so that was kind of what did him. He faced 5 batters or 4 batters rather. Walked 3 of them, got 2 outs. And in the case of Jones, he comes in, he gives up that 1 earned run, but that was about it. 2 hits, so he was fine. Then Dubard comes in the 9th and shuts the door. Flip side in Kansas City. Even Jalen Miller did not pitch bad. 5 innings, 3 runs, 2 earned, 1 walk, 6 hits, 3 strikeouts. Martinson, he came in, pitched an inning, surrendered an unearned run, struck 1 out, gave up 1 hit, and then Hartman came in, threw 3 innings of 2 hit, no run baseball, but he walked 3 and he struck 2 out. So really, it wasn't even a case of poor pitching from Kansas City. It was the 3 errors and Fargo Moorhead just kind of taking advantage of what they need to take advantage of. And at the end of the day, that's what you're going to have to do to beat very good teams. And after a real gut punch check in game 1, the Fargo Moorhead Redhawks answered the call, and now they're going to be playing for the Miles Wolf Cup against the Milwaukee Milkmen later today.
Yeah, I think, first of all, how about the toughness of Fargo Moorhead for being able to really take a gut punch on their home field and then go to Kansas City, toughest home place to play against a team, one of the best teams in the league, on the road and win 2 games. I mean, just hats off to them. In this game specific, Peyton Wigington threw a great ball game. I think on the Kansas City side, you got to look at it in the sense of they had a lot of opportunities and they just didn't capitalize. Their base runners, they had plenty of base runners in this game. They had 9 hits, but left 11 on base. That's going to be tough. That's going to be tough to win a game like that, especially when you didn't get a great start on the mound against a team like Fargo Moorhead. So I think when you look at it from a Kansas City perspective, just a lot of missed opportunities, 1 run on 9 hits. And of course the 3 errors there don't help as well, leading to 2 unearned runs scoring, which had a huge impact on this game. I think that Fargo Moorhead did what they had to do, but definitely Kansas City picked a bad game to play to really struggle on a lot of facets in this game, and they had the opportunities, but they just were not able to capitalize. And I think that's ultimately what Kansas City is going to what they're going to look at for this game. Just a lot of missed opportunities and what could have been, but that's not to take anything away from Fargo Moorhead, who played an awesome 2 games in Kansas City and were able to take it home. And congratulations to them and putting themselves in the championship series.
That's just it. I think they just kind of earned it. And I wouldn't say it's more Miller not giving a great start. He gave a fine start in my mind. It's just Wigginton gave a great start. And when that's the case, and then you factor in the fielding mistakes, that's going to be a difference maker, unfortunately. And like you said, the Monarchs left opportunities just laying there, and you can't do that in an elimination game. And the thing is, I think if we would have played another 2 games, we probably could have seen a much different result. We could have seen perhaps a Fargo win or a Kansas City win rather than a Fargo win. Or we could have seen the same result. It's just these 2 teams were so closely matched that such events are going to be what makes you go, I guess Fargo is the slightly better team, but they both were very good. And like I said, I wish we would have had this for a championship. I think having that as a rematch of the championship for the championship again would have really been the most fitting end for this, but it's still, Red Hawks Milkmen is still a fine series, and that starts later today at 6 o'clock in the Central Time Zone. All these times are about to be Central Time. So game 1 will be at 6 o'clock later today. Tomorrow on Sunday, 1 o'clock start time for Fargo Moorhead and the Milkmen, which I'm not sure what I think about a 1 o'clock start on a football Sunday, but okay. That's the decision. That both of those games are going to be in Franklin, Wisconsin, so Milwaukee will be the home team. Those will be the last 2 Milkmen home games of the year. And then on Tuesday, the 20th, Game 3 will take place at 6:30 at Newman Outdoor in Fargo, North Dakota. If necessary, Game 4 and 5 will both be 6:30 starts. That will be Wednesday and Thursday. So at the very latest, the 22nd is when the American Association season will come to an end. Or if there is a sweep, it could end on Tuesday. So at some point, middle of next week, we will have our decision out in North Dakota as to who will be the Miles Wolf Cup champion. Or otherwise known as the American Association Championship Team of the Year. So, be interesting to see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And, on that 1 o'clock Sunday start time, it's okay because the Packers are on Sunday Night Football against the Bears. So no worries, Milkmen fans. You get to go to the game and then go home and watch the Packers. I don't care how badly they played in week 1. They'll probably destroy the Bears on national TV for like the 18th consecutive time.
Do we know what time the Vikings kick off at, or are they Monday night? They are Monday night.
They are Monday night.
Okay, so they're being actually. So yeah, the 1 o'clock probably fits really good because I imagine North Dakota is probably Viking territory, and obviously a team in Milwaukee is going to be a Green Bay territory team. So hopefully they get some good attendance for that.
I hope so. It's going to be a really good series.
It is. I guess we could go through everything here, but I think we're going to have a very similar prediction matchup here. Who do you have winning this series? I guess we'll just cut to the chase on it.
Yeah, I think Fargo Moorhead just has too much talent. I think they have the better pitching. I think they win this one in 4 games. I think they're going to be able to split in Milwaukee. And then Fargo Moorhead's going to be able to win Game 3 and Game 4 on their home field at Newman Outdoor to win. I just think they're the better team, the more talented team, and I've been saying, well, we've been really saying all year that the champion is likely coming out of the West. No reason to switch up on that now. So I got Fargo Moorhead in 4.
I'm going to agree with Fargo. I think Fargo has the win, like you said. They got too many weapons. They're too talented of a team. They're too good of a team. And once you push a team that close to the brink of elimination, especially in the manner from which it came, you typically don't see that team go easy the next round. And of course, they had to play consecutive Game 3s. The series against Winnipeg. That being said, I do think it's going to take 5 games. I think Milwaukee having that extra day off is going to help them out, at the very least in game 1. I think Milwaukee probably takes one of those 2 games in Milwaukee. I think they probably fight back and take one in Fargo. But in the end of the day, I think the Red Hawks are just too much to handle for this team. Keep in mind that Keon Barnum's also dealing with some sort of an Achilles issue as well, which really hampers his speed too, which kind of turns him into Adam Dunn, which is to say home run or out. He's not really going to be a threat when he gets on the base path. So if he gets a base hit, he's almost a double play waiting to happen. And that takes out a major bat in your lineup. I do think that the Milwaukee bullpen is one of the better ones in the league. I do think that they have some dangerous bats and they are playing hot and they're playing well. And that's why I think it's going the distance. But that being said, I think the Milwaukee wins are going to be close wins. I think the Fargo wins are going to be not so close. And I think in the end, we're going to see on Thursday night, Fargo Moorhead getting another Miles Wolf Cup under their belt and kind of getting back to where they should be at, which is atop the pyramid. So I think Fargo in 5.